summer. You just finished your exams, but there's one thing playing on your mind. I have no money. And while your parents are saying, just get a job, how are you meant to do that in today's economy? But do not worry, here are my top tips on ways that you can make money over the summer as a student, and practical pieces of advice and guidance for actually getting a job. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video, which is something slightly different. If you've never seen my face before, my name is Tilly. I give you my top study tips and tricks every single day. So if you are a student and you'll find that helpful, be sure to like and subscribe so you do not miss out. So first things first, I want to give you some tips and tricks on how you can make a little bit of extra money without getting a job. I understand how difficult and infuriating trying to get a job when you have no experience is. However, while you're applying, here are some of the things that you can do on the side to fund your summer activities. Number one, sell your textbooks. You're not using them anymore, so sell those textbooks, sell those revision guides, sell those CGP books, whatever it is, just sell them on eBay, sell them on Vinted, whichever platform it may be. And you may think this sounds like a lot of work for a little return, but at the end of the day, if you get £3 or £4 for a textbook, that is £3 or £4 that you didn't have before. And if you do this for every subject, trust me, the money stacks up quickly. Also remember, this depends on the quality of your textbooks. My next tip would be to sell your notes online, particularly if you've got neat notes, good flashcards, detailed cheat sheets, whatever it may be. You can sell these on the internet and make passive income. I sell my A-level notes on buymeacoffee.com. Somebody can gain instant access to your notes once they have paid, and it has Apple Pay built in. They can pay with PayPal. However, I know other sites include Stuvia. A lot of people sell their notes on Fiverr, on Etsy, whatever platform works for you. It's a great way to make some extra money. Another tip would be just sell anything you don't need. Can you see a theme here? When you don't have a job, you need to take matters into your own hands. Go through your wardrobe and sell those clothes that you don't wear often. You don't need clothes if you've not worn them for a long period of time, unless they hold some sort of sentimental value. You don't need them. And once again, if you do this again and again and again, even if it's just £3 or £4 you're earning per item, this stacks up very quickly and you can use this income to fund your summer. This one is a little bit rogue. It takes a little bit of effort and entrepreneurial spirit. However, it's basically the concept that you buy something for cheap and sell it online for more expensive. So the way I used to do this when I finished my GCSEs is I would go to my local car boot sale every Sunday. And if you've ever been to a car boot sale, you know how outrageously underpriced everything is. So I used to just buy things that I identified were probably worth more money than they were being sold for. I'd buy them and then I would sell them online. Again, it wasn't worth much more, maybe £2 or £3, but if you do that for 10 items a week, that's an extra £20 or £30 that you can use to fund your summer. And if you're thinking, I don't have money to buy things from a car boot sale in the first place, you just buy one item and then you sell that on, and then you reinvest the profit in another car boot sale item the next week. Of course, it's slower growth, but at the same time, it's the same principle and you are still making some sort of profit. Now, let's talk about actual formal employment. First thing that needs to be said, you need to be 16 legally. If you're working below the age of 16, it's illegal. Okay, I redact that. There are certain jobs that you can do from the age of 14, but they are very hard to come by. Establishments need a special license and they are difficult to get. In general, under 16, you're limited to things like working in a hairdresser's, getting a paper round, stacking shelves in a shop. However, when you are 16, you can do things like work at a restaurant. You can work facing customers on a till. You can do way more than you could under the age of 16. Right, so now that's cleared up. Okay, so now that is cleared up, how do you go about getting a job? Right, so first thing I want you to know is that there is a huge element of luck involved. If you can't get a job, it's not a reflection of your skill level or ability. It's just purely for the fact that there is so much luck involved here. Because if you have no experience, some companies just won't even look at your application. However, coming from someone who has worked in a supermarket, if we were incredibly short-staffed, 1 week, we would literally, if you said you could start tomorrow, we would just hire someone who applied on that day. It was insane. And because of this, you need to be persistent. You need to keep applying to things even if you're not getting any interviews or you're not even hearing back, which most of the time you won't, which is quite unfortunate, but unfortunately it's the truth. You are much more likely to get a job at a local business rather than a large institution, because oftentimes when you're applying to places like supermarkets or big businesses, unless you've had a referral, it's very hard to even get past the screening process. They won't look at your application if you have no experience. Well, sometimes they will, but it depends so much, and rule of thumb, smaller businesses are way more likely to look past the fact you have no experience. And with those smaller businesses, you can just walk in and ask if they have got any vacancies, and you can be persistent. You can go down to your local pub every week, and it doesn't make you seem desperate, it demonstrates your determination. And after a while, they'll probably give you a trial shift. Apply for everything that you're eligible for, and don't just sort of half-heartedly apply. You need to have a covering letter and a unique CV for each job. And this is a pain, and this takes forever. So if you don't know, a covering letter is you explaining why you want to work that job and why at that place in particular. So it needs to include your own personal motivations, but then about why you want to work for that business in particular. What have they done that stands out to you? A CV is a document that outlines your achievements. So you will put your projected GCSE grades on there, or your A-level grades if you haven't got them yet. Include your previous experiences on your CV, your predicted grades, and honestly, at this age, if you've got no experience, then hobbies and interests, but make sure they're not just things like listening to music, walking the dog. It needs to be something actually impressive. You know, I was the captain of my school's badminton team, or I played this sport for my county, or I played the piano to this grade. And think about this, in your CV, if you're talking about your hobbies and interests and you're applying to be kitchen staff, you could talk about how much you love cooking and baking. You can tailor it in this way. Now, my next piece of advice might be controversial, but I'm sorry, it's the way the world works. If you have any contacts or family members that work somewhere, you are 10 times more likely to get a job through a referral, particularly if it's a small business. So let's say your aunt works at a local restaurant and she says, oh, my 16-year-old niece wants to work in the kitchen. She can do like 4 hours a week. Is this cool? You can pay her minimum wage for a 16-year-old. They're so much more likely to say yes than if you're just some random kid off the street. You have to use any Nepo baby privileges that you have. When I was at school, all of my friends Nepo'd jobs at McDonald's because one of them got a job and then kept referring other people who were referring other people. And because they were all good at their jobs, it worked. And no, it's not fair. It's not fair at all. I'm not saying it's fair, but I am saying it's probably the easiest way to get a job and start making some money. So I really hope that you found this video helpful. If so, be sure to like and subscribe because I'm going to be posting way more tips and tricks about how you can have a relaxing yet productive summer holidays. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next episode. Bye guys!